acknowledged.
The early 1940s were a dark time for the Allies. German U-boats prowled the Atlantic, sinking merchant ships with impunity. This period, known as the Second Happy Time by the German submarine crews, saw devastating losses for the Allies. Supplies desperately needed in Europe were going down with the ships. The situation was dire and Allied forces needed a solution fast. Enter Charles Haffenden, a US naval intelligence officer with a radical idea. Haffenden believed the answer to their problem lay in the shadows, with the very criminals the government had been trying to eradicate. The Mafia. It was a long shot, but Haffenden was desperate. He knew the Mafia controlled the waterfront, wielding influence over the docks and unions. If anyone could help secure the ports from sabotage and provide intelligence on enemy activities, it was them. Haffenden's first contact was Joseph Sox Lanza, a powerful Mafia boss who controlled the Fulton fish market. Lanza, motivated by patriotism and the potential for profit, agreed to cooperate. His men provided information and kept a watchful eye on the docks. While Lanza's help was valuable, it was limited to his sphere of influence. Haffenden needed a bigger player, someone who could truly turn the tide. Haffenden found the answer in Lucky Luciato, the most powerful Mafia boss in America. Luciano, despite being incarcerated for racketeering, still held significant sway over the criminal underworld. Haffenden saw an opportunity in Luciano's predicament. In exchange for Luciano's help, the government could offer him something he desperately craved: freedom. Luciano, a shrewd strategist, agreed to the alliance. He saw the potential benefits for himself and for his organization. He tasked his trusted lieutenant, Meyer Lansky, with overseeing the operation from the outside. Lansky, a brilliant organizer known as the mob's accountant, proved instrumental in coordinating the Mafia's efforts. The alliance was sealed, a pact forged between sworn enemies in the face of a common threat. Luciano's strategy was simple but effective. He used his vast network of informants to gather intelligence on enemy activities. His men infiltrated the docks, keeping a watchful eye for saboteurs and spies. They also ensured labor peace, preventing strikes that could disrupt the flow of supplies. The Mafia's involvement was discreet but effective. They were the silent guardians of the waterfront, their presence felt but rarely seen. The impact of Operation Underworld was immediate and significant. The rate of sabotage plummeted. The previously porous New York harbor transformed into a fortress. Luciano had delivered on his promise, providing the Allies with a crucial advantage in the Battle of the Atlantic. The success of Operation Underworld had far-reaching consequences. As the Allies prepared to invade Sicily in 1943, they once again turned to Luciano for help. The Sicilian Mafia, known as Cosa Nostra, held considerable sway on the island. Luciano, though incarcerated in America, still had connections within the organization. The Allied invasion of Sicily, codenamed Operation Husky, was a pivotal moment in the war. The Sicilian Mafia, following Luciano's instructions, provided crucial assistance to the Allied forces. They supplied intelligence, acted as guides, and even helped to undermine the Italian fascist regime from within. The invasion, aided by the Mafia's clandestine support, proved successful, paving the way for the Allied advance into mainland Italy. While the morality of collaborating with the Mafia remains a subject of debate, there's no denying its impact. The alliance, born out of desperation, proved surprisingly effective. Lucky Luciano, the cunning mob boss, played a pivotal role in securing Allied victory, proving that even in the darkest of times, unlikely alliances can emerge and shape the course of history. However, according to Lansky, the military turned down Luciano's request. It would be challenging for the soldiers to accept a Mafia figure fighting alongside them. If the press got wind of this, it would spell disaster. What is he doing with you, Army? On July 9, 1943, Operation Husky commenced, led by American General George Patton and the British General Bernard Montgomery. Remember, dear friend, the one who triumphed at El Alamein, but whose name is now forgotten. Yes, this is the one who shattered Rommel's streak of victories at El Alamein, yet no one remembers his name, for Rommel garnered more fame, naturally hyped by the Nazis for his wins, and the British in turn magnified the significance of his defeat. The operation involved around 180,000 soldiers, 600 tanks, and 1,500 artillery pieces. As the British and Canadian forces advanced laboriously on the eastern side of the island, the American 7th Army surged from the west, well versed in the area's details. During the invasion of one of Sicily's vital ports, Lieutenant Paul Alfieri received crucial intelligence from a Mafia member whose life Luciano had saved. Why? Because Luciano successfully smuggled him from New York to Sicily after he had killed an American policeman, a story we won't delve into. This individual, dear friend, enjoyed doing good deeds only to forget about them later. This information revealed the location of the Italian Naval Command. By storming this command, the Allies would uncover all their dreams, a treasure trove of Italian defense plans, radio codes, locations of Axis forces throughout the island, and naval mine maps. It was a wealth of information that opened a vault before them, saving thousands of Allied soldiers during Operation Husky. They could have even known Mussolini's mother's name. This Mafia intelligence proved invaluable to the Allies in all Sicilian cities, Anzio and Sardinia. While the American media celebrated the soldiers' heroism and Lieutenant Alfieri was adorned with medals and featured in magazines, the Mafia's role was entirely obscured, as if it had never existed, similar to what happened with the cooperation in New York ports. The plan to collaborate with the Mafia for the invasion of Sicily is documented in a military report submitted to General Eisenhower. This report not only acknowledges the collaboration but also outlines the terms under which the Mafia assisted the army in demolishing bridges and other facilities. While it's unclear whether these provisions were enacted, these details reveal that the level of cooperation between the two parties exceeded what historians had anticipated. The truth, my friend, is that Luciano was not lamenting over, "Oh man, the American government didn't acknowledge me and the press ignored me, failing to immortalize my legacy." On the contrary, he was delighted that his strategic plans were unfolding perfectly. For after this episode, he would discover that his name was mentioned in high places. Let me, dear friend, tell you how Luciano profited from this. Following the successful invasion, the Allies were astonished. They found themselves in control of an entire island along with its populace. At that juncture, they had no alternative but to replace the local leaders, the mayors, loyal to Mussolini, with Mafia leaders who had been liberated from prisons, positioning the Mafia in place of Mussolini's followers. They were the ones capable of organizing the masses and maintaining order, with the citizens readily obeying their directives. When the Allies vacated Sicily, the island was not only liberated from Mussolini's grip, but also returned entirely to the Mafia's control, who became official mayors with documentation, fully prepared to collaborate with Luciano. On May 8, 1945, the same day World War II concluded in Europe, Luciano's attorney filed a petition for his release from prison. True, this man is a killer, extortionist, criminal, and has engaged in prostitution, along with some gambling activities, but he deserves to be pleaded for his contribution to America's victory in World War II. He only has 40 years left. It's insignificant and won't matter much. Let's get him out now. Luciano's petition hinged on the services he provided that tilted the war in favor of the Allies. Interestingly, this petition was submitted to the governor of New York, Thomas E. Dewey. Do you recall, dear friend? This is the same public prosecutor who had imprisoned him. Dewey investigated and had people testify, such as Charles Haffenden, the head of intelligence, who actually vouched for Luciano's efforts. In January 1946, E. Dewey agreed to the petition, but on one condition: Luciano must not remain in America for a single day. We will send him to Italy. The approval stemmed from here, igniting a firestorm. Public opinion, the press, and even Captain Mohib Abdelhadi all turned against him. He was accused of transforming from a knight of justice who imprisoned a dangerous mafia figure into a criminal, and a bribe taker who accepted money from the mafia to facilitate his release. He played all sides, and his hands are stained with the blood of Americans. While intelligence was striving to obscure Luciano's role in the war, Dewey, in defense of his reputation, had to request the judge to conduct a separate investigation into Operation Underworld, in which Luciano participated as the basis for the amnesty ruling. He pleaded with the judge, "Please let us present these findings to the public. They think I am corrupt, but I'm a knight of justice." Eventually, my friend, the Herlands report surfaced in 1954. It's a 100-page document with roughly 3,000 pages of attached testimonies. While many of our episode sources come from the accounts of historians and mafia figures, this report is regarded as the most significant official legal document acknowledging Luciano's contributions, confirming that Dewey was not bribed and that collaboration between American intelligence and the mafia did indeed occur. Although Dewey's reputation was vindicated, the US Navy opposed the publication of the full report, which remained buried for over 20 years until it was finally made available to the public in 1977. You might imagine, dear friend, that Luciano received the news of his expulsion from America with profound sadness. Yet he lived in Italy as a king, strengthening the mafia connections between New York and Sicily, ushering in an era of global organized crime. After a life filled with national and criminal undertakings, Luciano passed away from a heart attack. Charles Lucky Luciano, a name synonymous with organized crime. He was a man who lived in the shadows, yet his influence stretched far and wide. In the 1930s, he became one of the most powerful figures in the American underworld. Feared and respected, a true force to be reckoned with. How did this Italian immigrant climb the mafia ranks to earn the title of public enemy number one? Luciano's story is one of ambition, violence, and cunning. Born in Sicily in 1897, he immigrated to the US as a young boy. The streets of New York City became his proving ground. He fell in with the 5 Points gang and quickly learned the rules of the game. As Luciano rose through the mafia ranks, he saw the old guards infighting. He believed the mafia could be more powerful if unified and operated like a business. His vision changed the face of organized crime forever. The early 1930s saw New York City gripped by a bloody gang war. Two factions, one led by the aging Giuseppe Joe, the boss Masseria, and the other by Salvatore Maranzano, clashed for control of the city's lucrative underworld. This conflict, known as the Castellamarese War, was a pivotal moment in mafia history. Luciano, a rising star in Masseria's organization, saw the futility of the war. He recognized that the real winners would be the outsiders who could exploit the chaos. In a daring move, he orchestrated Masseria's assassination in 1931, effectively ending the war and consolidating his own power. With Masseria out of the picture, Luciano turned his attention to Maranzano. He saw Maranzano's traditional views as a threat to his vision of a modern mafia. In a preemptive strike, Luciano had Maranzano assassinated, eliminating his rival and solidifying his position as the most powerful mafia boss in New York City. With the Castellamarese War over, Luciano set about reshaping the mafia in his own image. He established the Commission, a council composed of the heads of the 5 families of New York City. This council was designed to maintain order and prevent future conflicts. It was a revolutionary concept that brought stability and structure to the previously chaotic world of organized crime. Luciano's vision extended beyond New York City. He understood that the mafia's true potential lay in cooperation between families across the country. He envisioned a national crime syndicate, a network of families working together to maximize profits and minimize conflict. This syndicate would become a reality, forever changing the landscape of organized crime in America. Luciano's reign as the head of the mafia would not last forever. He was a target of law enforcement, and his criminal empire was constantly under threat. However, his legacy as one of the most significant figures in organized crime history remains secure. He was a visionary, a ruthless leader, and a man who left an indelible mark on the American underworld. World War II brought new challenges and opportunities for Luciano and the Mafia. With America's entry into the war, the government feared sabotage and espionage. This paranoia extended to Italian Americans working on the docks. The fire aboard the SS Normandy in 1942 fueled suspicions. The luxury liner, being converted for troop transport, capsized after a fire. Rumors spread that it was sabotaged by German or Italian agents. The official investigation concluded it was an accident, but suspicions lingered. The incident highlighted the climate of fear and suspicion during the war. There is no evidence Luciano or the Mafia were involved in the Normandy fire. Luciano's nickname, Lucky, took on an ironic significance. Despite surviving assassination attempts, his luck seemed to be running out. In 1936, he was convicted of compulsory prostitution and sentenced to prison.